First, former NFL head coach Eric Mangini joins the show. Hey, Coach, do you know what I love most about Nick? That at any given moment he can tell me how many hours are left until the draft.
Because it's very simple math, Jenna. 11 hours and 40 minutes because it's at 8 p.m. and it's right now 8:20.
The only thing funnier than that is that I did better than him on the SATs. But we won't talk about
0% chance. Without knowing your scores, I will wager every dollar I will make from now until the end of this show against what you have in your pocket. That's not
Then
true.
let's go to the gym.
You feel very strongly about your
I feel
SATs.
Absolutely, yes,
Okay.
correct.
Do you want to share?
Go ahead. No, don't worry.
Of course not, only if I said it was more.
No, not interested.
Why don't we talk about the draft, since everything else seems off the table?
Yeah.
It's live tonight on Fox.
On the Wonder Lake, too.
So many questions. So many questions, so little time. Actually, that's not true. We have 3 hours. That's plenty of time. If you're Cleveland, you've had nothing but time to figure out what you're going to do with the top pick, which is only fitting then that we are now hearing reports that the Browns, who were all set seemingly on Sam Darnold, are now down to Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen. Well, as long as they're sure. Coach, if this was your pick, what's most important to you? What would you do? What would you look for? Who would you pick?
Well, the only thing that's worse than going 0-16 and then 1-32 over 2 years is to be in a situation where you have the top pick and you're not sure who you're going to take. There's no clear-cut number one at quarterback. It's the worst. To me, I would imagine that's the worst feeling because you know that you got to get it right. You've got to get the franchise quarterback. It's the most important thing there. But each one of these guys has some sort of problem that you're hoping that they can overcome. The idea that they're fluctuating between picks at this point, to me, is hard to believe. I would imagine they have their guy. I'm probably different from the rest of the group. I like Josh Rosen the best of the quarterbacks. Who they take, I would imagine Josh Allen.
So here's the thing. I actually also like Josh Rosen the best. But if I were Cleveland, I wouldn't take him. I think Baker Mayfield has the most upside of all of them. But if I were Cleveland, I wouldn't take him. Because if you are a team that has had, 28 starting quarterbacks over the last 20 years?
I had 6 of them.
Exactly. If you are a team that the reason you are the Cleveland Browns almost as an adjective rather than a team, like we use the Browns as a placeholder to talk about a team that can't get it right, it's because you haven't had the quarterback. So I have to go with the safest guy if I'm Cleveland. I don't have the luxury of going with the highest upside guy, and I think the safest guy is Sam Darnold.
Why? Why is he that much safer than the other guys? You look at his completion percentage, you look at his decision making in terms of interceptions. Why to you is he the safest guy?
To me, he checks the boxes on the measurables. He doesn't have to worry about the height that Baker does. Doesn't have to worry, even if I'm not worried about it off the field, that Baker does, or I guess Baker's the only one that you would put in that category, maybe Josh Rosen as well. Doesn't, to me, have the durability questions of Josh Rosen, and certainly doesn't have the accuracy issues of Josh Allen or even the accuracy issues of Lamar Jackson. Like, for all those reasons, I just think Darnold, there's a reason that he was the top guy coming out of high school. There's a reason that going into the year, people were like, he's going to be the #1 pick of the draft. There's a reason why when the season ended, people were like, he's probably going to be the #1 pick of the draft. It doesn't mean I think he's going to be the best quarterback of this draft, but I think he has the lowest chance to be a bust of any of these guys. And if I'm Cleveland, I just can't have another bust. I don't need to have a Hall of Famer. I just can't have another disaster. At least that's how maybe that's too cautious, maybe it's the cowardly approach, but that's how I would approach it if I were running that war room.
All these quarterbacks do have a flaw. And to me, there is no quarterback that you can say can survive any system. All right? There is no quarterback you can put on the Jets, and you don't put an offensive line around them, you don't put a running game around them, and they can get hit. None of these guys can survive that. So, as I've told you guys all along, most players, 99% of the players coming into the league, they are system players. Like, for me, if I'm Cleveland, which one of these guys do I believe in a year to 18 months? Stop thinking about the 2018 season. That's why you went out and traded for Tyrod Taylor. And if you're looking at this season, then to me, that would change my equation. Which guy do I think could play in September? If it was me, I would go with Baker Mayfield. No quarterback was more accurate than him. No quarterback accomplished more than him. Now, you might not like some other things, but as far as throwing the football, I take Baker Mayfield with the first pick because I believe that he's a proven commodity throwing the football.
Look, I love Baker Mayfield's interception to touchdown ratio. It's pretty incredible. It's 40 to 8 or 48 to 6? The numbers are staggering, but you do have concerns about some of the other things that he's been involved in. And when you take a player #1 overall, regardless of what plan you have in place, who you say your starter is in April, once it gets a little bit noisy, there's a lot of pressure to play that guy. There's a lot of pressure to push him in. And we saw last year with Hugh Jackson, he changed quarterbacks as much as he said, hey, this is my guy, I'm not changing. 3 weeks later, he changed. And then it was like, this is my guy, I'm not changing. And then he changed. When you're sitting on the #1 pick, he's probably going to play.
When it comes to Baker, do you do any part of the math at all? The conference in which he played in. Not a long list of guys in the Big 12 that have gone on to really high-level success in the NFL. The only one I can think of on the top of my head is Sam Bradford, and I don't know if we'd call that really high-level success. Like, do you disregard that?
Everybody's been looking for the formula to figure out who the next great quarterback's going to be, and nobody's figured it out. There's been an analytics push on it. You try to look at production. You try to look at conference. You try to look at intangibles, and you still can't get it right. Why does Tom Brady go where Tom Brady goes? Why does Russell Wilson go where Russell Wilson goes? Why does Aaron Rodgers fall to late in the draft? It's because it's such an imperfect science, and you're dealing with young human beings that are going to become rich, famous, and have a lot of free time.
So if it is a bit of an, I'll call it a crapshoot, if you will, because you really don't know skill-wise who's going to be successful, what you said then resonates. Like, you're dealing with young human beings. So does the second level of what you're going to factor in, should that be, well, who is the most mature of this group of kids? Like, who do we think can handle the money, the fame, the power, the being the face of the franchise? I mean, is that really what you have to look at, since there's no real way of telling who is going to be the most successful?
To me, that's a huge part of the draft process. And when we'd sit in the room, and scouts would say to me, well, he's immature. And I hated that term, because I said to him, well, what makes you think that time, money, and fame is going to make this kid more mature? Like, when has that formula ever worked? So you're looking for those intangibles where they can continue to grow, where they're going to be on that trajectory. When the reason we kept Tom Brady in New England, because he didn't play well his first year. He didn't practice well his first year, but he had traits. And we believe in those traits that we could develop. Now, when you're sitting on the #1 pick in the draft, you hope that you're drafting more than traits, but you need to be right on those intangibles if the guy's going to grow.
Well, and so what is it? You asked me why I said Rosen or why I said Darnold. I'm just curious, because we're oddly enough in agreement on who the best guy is. What is it about Rosen that you like?
Well, without getting to meet these guys, without getting to spend any time with them, just watching them on tape, I thought he was the most impressive passer. I thought he was the most consistent passer, and more of his throws jumped off the screen to me. And you hear guys say he can make every throw, and I think that phrase gets thrown around a little too loosely.
Well, it gets thrown around when you can make the long throw.
Yeah, that's true. when you can hit the deep ball, but it was catchable. Guys could catch and run. You know, I thought some of Sam Darnold's and even Baker Mayfield receivers had to work a little bit too much for balls, and I liked where Rosen placed it.
Where are you watching the draft tonight? At a sports bar in Times Square with a bunch of hoodlums?
I was thinking I was going to head to Nick's house.
Yes.
Get out of here.
Let's do it.
We're going to draft geek out, you know.
Yes.
Minecraft. What do you play, Minecraft?
High-fiving after every pick.
Oh, yeah, let's do it, Coach. We'll have the NBA game on the side TV.
Well,
we can do
of course.
Come through.
I'll put all that on my gram. All that goes on my Instagram.
You
Coach,
have to be there.
We'll
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
You going to come back in a little bit? We're going to go over SAT scores in the break. We'll talk about LeBron next. First things first. Unbelievable.
I missed one question on the math portion, Jenna. So you need a...
When out with friends, you could tell the truth.